There is absolutely no way to sugarcoat it. The regular Toyota Corolla Cross is about as underwhelming as they get. And listen, I am not looking for breakneck speeds or anything like that, but talk about diminishing returns. Between the engine and transmission, there is a lot to be desired in everyday driving situations. And then you add in the available all-wheel drive system, and what precious little torque there was to work with in the first place is robbed in the name of traction. And then there's this, the Corolla Cross Hybrid. You want efficiency? Look no further. How about the kind of confidence that only all-wheel drive brings to the table? Well, it's got that too, and it's standard. And when it comes to power, this thing's got all the guts it needs. Add it all up, and this little crossover is the total package. Well, mostly. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. Okay, just because it bears repeating, no, I don't think little crossovers like this one need all kinds of output to do their jobs effectively. And the regular gas-only Corolla Cross, well, it has enough output on paper to do its job, but it's in practice where it all falls apart. It just really doesn't work very well. The motive force that you need for passing and merging, it's just not there. I have had some scary moments trying to get on the highway in that thing, but here it is a non-issue, and a big reason why, it's got 196 horsepower, so 27 more than the gas-only version. But even more importantly, it has all kinds of electric torque to backfill what's missing in the low end with that gas engine driving it on its own. It is really great. Now, Toyota does not publish an official sort of net torque figure, but the electric motors, well, they make 152 pound-feet of it on their own. That's more than the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, so you can kind of do the math. The other thing to keep in mind, well, hybrid output, it's not just a mashup of the two numbers. It's sort of how they operate at their peaks together. So the number isn't going to be just a calculation of all the torque that the electric motors make and all the torque the gas engine makes. It's something less than that, but I'm telling you right now, it is more than enough. Now, this thing is paired with a continuously variable transmission, and it gets very noisy. It wants to wind out endlessly. You know how these things work. Not all that pleasing to hear, but does the job effectively of getting torque down to the road. Obviously, I think the reason you're going to shop for one of these isn't so much power as it is efficiency, and this thing's got that going for it in a big way. It's officially rated to burn 5.6 liters per 100 kilometers combined, which is awesome, and I've been right in that neighborhood all week long. That isn't much more than Jody burned in the Corolla sedan, the hybrid version with all-wheel drive. So you're not being penalized by this kind of boxy upright shape that you get with this crossover version. That is exactly what you want to see. But I do have an interesting nitpick that I didn't really notice until this morning before we met up for today's shoot. So just like usual, I stopped at the gas station before meeting up with video producer extraordinaire Will Johnson, and there was 475 kilometers on the trip. Not too bad. I had a quarter tank of gas left, so I prepaid $80. I figured that should cover it. And it did. It more than covered it. And that's because, well, I found out that this thing has a very tiny gas tank. It's only got a 40-liter tank, which meant I only put 29 liters in. When you look at it that way, it's not so bad. 475 kilometers to 29 liters of gas. That is impressive. But the fact that this thing only has a 40-liter capacity means you are going to be filling up way more frequently than you probably should. This has to be one of the smallest gas tanks on the new car market today. That to me is a bit of a problem. Now, the gas-only version, I think it's got a 47-liter tank, so it's not that it's that much bigger, but the point is, you're going to be stopping quite frequently, especially if you take this thing outside of the city. I'm sure it has to do with the packaging, with the electric motor in the back, as well as the battery pack that's under the back seat. But it's really one of those things that I wouldn't have thought of before I filled up, and I'm sure glad I did. I'm not telling you guys to cross this thing off your list, but it's definitely something to keep in the back of your mind. Anyway, something I really like, the ride quality. No, it's not perfect, but considering this thing's budget-friendly routes, does a pretty good job of soaking up most of the rough stuff that you are going to encounter out on the road. Something I don't like so much, some of the materials in here, and I know you guys have heard me complain about this a few times in different vehicles. It really stands out here. No, I am not expecting this thing to be a Lexus, but I'm telling you right now, the plastics up here on the upper dash, as well as the rear door panels, and these sun visors, just really takes the entire experience down a notch. But what I really like, the upholstery on these seats. Now, it is synthetic leather and it's matched with, I don't know, just some regular fabric, but the striping looks really good and these seats are very comfortable. They're the same ones that you get in the Corolla hatchback. I like them there. I like them here. They are very good. Something not so good, space in the rear seats. It's a little bit cramped. The bigger issue, narrow door openings. It means if you're loading little ones into car seats, you are going to have a hard time. I'm a big guy. It's a really big issue for me getting in the back. But if you're trying to squeeze in to buckle a kid into a car seat, well, I'm telling you, this is not the ideal crossover to be doing that in. But it hits back with a reasonable amount of cargo room. There's 609 liters behind the back seats, and that is more than enough. Yes, some in the segment do better, but this is just about the only hybrid in the segment, and that is definitely something worth keeping in mind. The only other one out there is the Niro, but that thing, front-wheel drive only, whereas this has that standard all-wheel drive. That is a huge competitive advantage. Now, the Corolla Cross Hybrid in Canada, it only comes in two trims, the SE and this XSE that I am driving. Both of them have heated front seats and a heated steering wheel, as well as an 8-inch touchscreen, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connections. There's satellite radio in this one I'm driving. There's a decent selection of stuff, but it's definitely missing just those few extra features to push it over the edge. Namely, no heated rear seats, no ventilated front seats. And I know those are pretty hard to come by, especially in B segment crossovers like this one. But if you take a look at the Hyundai Kona, again, not available with a hybrid powertrain, but definitely something you are going to appreciate for a similar price point to this Corolla Cross I am driving. I'm telling you right now, Toyota does need to do just a little bit better when it comes to creature comforts, especially when you look at the pricing, because it's right around $34,000 some odd dollars before freight and tax for the SE. And then this one I'm driving, it's like 37.5 grand before freight and tax. That's not terrible, but when you start to look at the competitive landscape, you could get yourself into a decently equipped Subaru Crosstrek that again is gas only, but it's got some serious advantages that this one doesn't. And then you're taking a look at stuff like the Hyundai Kona as well as the Kia Seltos that offer a lot more features than this Toyota. You've also got that Kia Niro hybrid, front wheel drive only, but it starts at a much lower price point than this one, right around $30,000 before tax. I'm not necessarily saying that's the one to get, but it just means that this one, well, it doesn't jump off the list as the best you can buy. That to me is the big problem here. Now, it's not all doom and gloom here with this top trim. You get stuff like a wireless phone charger, 10-speaker stereo, this sunroof, a power tailgate, decent selection of stuff, and then there is the advanced driver assistance suite that is standard in both trims. Forward collision warning, lane departure warning and keeping assistance, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring. That part is really great to see. So that does brush it up a bit. This infotainment system, it's also got a subscription-based navigation system that looks really great. I like it a lot. The big problem is I wouldn't recommend paying for it considering you hook your phone up to it and you get free access to Google Maps or Apple Maps for you masochists out there, as well as Waze. Those make way more sense. It's really a shame that the big feature in this infotainment system is pretty much obsolete. So where does that leave the Toyota Corolla Cross? Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The drive, it's decent. It's got enough power. It's efficient. Doesn't go very far because of that tiny fuel tank. Not a ton of features, but a decent selection of stuff. I'd still recommend putting this on your short list, but I definitely make sure it's not the only one there. Check out some of those gas-powered entries too, as well as that Niro hybrid, especially if you're looking to save a few bucks. But I'm telling you right now, this thing is still worth taking for a spin. To recap, I like that the Corolla Cross Hybrid is as gutsy as a crossover this size should be, how incredibly efficient it is, and that the ride quality is reasonably comfortable. I don't like that some of the materials inside are pretty cheap, that the gas tank is so tiny, and that the top trim is missing those few extra features to justify its price tag. Look, the Corolla Cross Hybrid isn't going to set the world on fire with blazing speeds, but that's kind of the whole point. It's as quick as it needs to be, and that's all that matters. Yes, I do wish it had a few more features to help justify its price tag at the top of the lineup, and its fuel tank is pretty tiny, but it's efficient and smooth, and it just might be the ultimate Canadian Corolla.